We are also hearing right now, CTV News confirming that Christy Clark is organizing heavily and will formally decide early next week whether or not to enter the race. That is from sources close to the former BC Premier. We're also hearing that Mark Carney has the support of dozens of MPs and is close to announcing his future next week. That is according to a source close to the former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. Now, Karina Gould is also seriously considering a run, according to a source close to her. So, of course, there are a lot of people that may or may not be in this, and of course, we will be following that as we go. But joining me right now to talk about the rules of the race and what he's looking for in a candidate is Montreal MP Anthony Housefather. Welcome back to Power Play, Mr. Housefather.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Before we get to the op-ed that you co-authored with Yvonne Baker, I wanted to ask you about what we just laid out in the leadership contest. First of all, some of those that have said that they may or may not be going in. Mark Carney, Christy Clark, just a comment on what the field is shaping up to be so far.
I think there's going to be an extraordinarily good field with a number of options to bring our party back to the center, which is the purpose of the op-ed that Yvonne and I wrote. My goal is for the Liberal Party to represent all Canadians, whether you're center-right, center-left, or center, just the way the Chrétien Liberals and the Martin Liberals did and the way we started off in 2015. And I think that there's a number of people that are running that can bring us there.
So how do you explain where the party is now? When I say that as someone who's a member of that party and a member of that caucus who does have a hand in making sure that the party stays where you want it to be.
I think in the last few years, the party has strayed, and I certainly have been one of those arguing in caucus toward a centrist vision. And as you know, I've had numerous public debates with my party on some key issues. And I look forward to a leadership race where for the first time since 2013, we're going to have the chance to have a public debate on ideas, not just in caucus, but outside of caucus. And I believe that a number of these candidates will agree with that vision that we expressed in that op-ed, that we need to return to the center. We need to concentrate on being a party that is fiscally responsible, that improves our trade relationship, not only with the United States, but with other important key emerging trading partners. And that is a part of a growing economy.
Just before we get to the rules of the race, though, one of your colleagues, Wayne Long from New Brunswick, did put out this, and I'll have you take a look at it. He says the carbon tax on consumers must go. The system we implemented was the right one at the time. It was meant to put more money in the pockets of middle-class people, and it did, but times have changed. He says, I will not consider supporting any candidate for Liberal leader and Prime Minister who does not agree. It's not only the right thing to do for Canadians, the only way to move our party and country forward and ensure that Pierre Poilievre and his far-right Conservative Party does not come to power. Do you support getting rid of the carbon tax as well?
So I come from a province where we don't even have the federal backstop or the carbon tax, right? Quebec has its own system. But yes, I think it's something that we would need to revisit and not have the tax in the form that it is. The price on pollution, I think, is not a bad idea. I think it's actually an important idea to price polluting our air. But I also recognize in realpolitik that whatever information has been circulating over the last number of years, most Canadians view it as a tax, do not think it's a fair tax for consumers on the consumer side. And I would also support getting rid of it.
On the rules of the race and what has been put in place, there have been many that have been concerned about this race being vulnerable to foreign interference. How concerned are you that there are still openings here in the rules for foreign states to influence who will be chosen not only as the leader of your party, but as Prime Minister on March the 9th?
Well, I think that all of caucus was very concerned. It's one of the primary issues we raised with the party leadership. And we have been advised that there will be an enormous amount of safeguards that are being put in place. We did ensure that only Canadian citizens and permanent residents can vote in the race, which is an important step. And I'm confident that the party leadership is doing the right thing to put every safeguard in place to make sure that there is not that opportunity for foreign interference.
On the field of the candidates, If you go back to 2013, in that race that chose Justin Trudeau as the leader, the fee to enter the contest was just $75,000. Candidates now have to raise $350,000, and that's in just the next 13 days. Do you think that the party is trying to narrow the field right out of the gate, and are they doing it too much?
I think this is an unusual leadership. I think this is one that is happening much faster than the ordinary leadership, and I think the party set it the amount that it thinks is right, and I really don't have any issues with the amount. If somebody is a very serious candidate, they'll be able to raise that amount, and that's sort of my perspective right now. We really have to choose a leader quickly. I think that's one of our priorities, and I think it is perfectly legitimate to narrow down the field to those who are serious enough to raise that kind of money.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for this, Anthony Housefather, Liberal MP for the Montreal area. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year, Mike.